SMG on the red side yet again for this one, and GameTV are going to kick things off with a L'Oreal ban.
And the AIC ban as well. This looks very reminiscent of the last draft. Same exact ban so far, so if we see the Malok ban, that's going to be a hint as to what we're going to see next. But it's going to be in the hands of them. Yep, Malok goes down.
So Malok being taken off the board, I think it puts a little bit more priority on Zenial, just having that initiation tool and having that distance traversal skill under your pocket. I think Zenial's going to be a contested pick in this one. It did work to great effect for SMG in that lineup. It did keep Alice alive in one of those later team fights when Alice really should have been dead.
And it also meant Ryoma didn't actually have the effect that he was potentially wanting to go for. Chaugnar does get banned away, so the same bans as last game. SMG looking for a repeat performance, and you can see why. The 1-0 scoreline is sort of self-explanatory.
So we did see Henry on the Zuka interrupt Zenial's ultimate, and that is a threat that's always going to be there. I feel as though GameTV could have abused that a little bit more. They often found Zuka pathing down rather than tracking Zenial, because if Zenial leaves the lane, you've already got the pressure in your control, you just follow him down. You could abuse that a little bit more, I feel, on the side of GameTV, rather than allow him to get out of vision and get that ultimate off without you knowing about it and being able to interrupt it. You should be sticking to the Zenial like glue as long as it's safe to do so.
Zill and Lubu, maybe. There we go. Exact same draft so far. This is something that we've seen a couple of times coming out from these sort of longer series. In the drafts are the same because they both think that their draft strategy is good. It's the right move against their opponents, but they just think their play is the thing to be improved. That remains to be seen. Of course, you do have that little bit more of a buffer because you've got 4 games that you need to achieve, so you can try it again and afford to take that loss against the other team if you so choose. If we're going to see the same matchup, we're going to see the Ormar Raz pick in.
Taking a little bit longer to decide whether they want to roll in with that, though. So might be some variation coming out, but if they wanted to play it how they have been the entire time, Ormar would be the pick to take here.
They could take away the Zenial, but they are hovering the Thane.
They haven't played the Zenial in this tournament so far. They've only banned it away.
Okay, so Alice being hovered now. With a Raz that, not too sure they want to do that. Yeah, okay, fine. So they're going to go back to basics.
It was interesting that they would hover Alice, because that's another hero that they have played. Alice would be a good option. They've been playing it in their matches. Why not take it away? Exact same draft at the moment on the side of SMG.
And everyone.
And they can still pick that Alice if they want to, assuming that GameTV don't take it away now they're recognizing the pattern with this composition.
I think if they're going to change something, it's going to be this Murad. You could change it out for something like a Necroth, something that's maybe even a Zephys that can move into the later game and still have some utility as well as just that straight up damage.
Necroth could be a good answer. Zephys as well. Both very popular picks at the moment.
Something that we haven't touched on.
Well, we didn't touch on the Violet because we didn't think it'd be an issue because it's not really been played much, but it's down to the ban rates that's obviously been used against them. GameTV playing the Violet, they've only ever banned it. They haven't played it in this tournament so far. But Violet's one of the most hotly contested pick-banned heroes. Yeah, I think you have to give Henry that Zuka now knowing that Serenia has got the Zenial. But they're going to be removing themselves a support in the form of more damage. So they're going to have a backline, long-range poking carry to contest with Hanzo's Joker.
And a very fast lock-in for Thane. They don't want to run that Alice again. They want to have a much tankier front line. And you can see that during these fights, the tankiness to SMG is just going to reign through. Of course, you've got the Zenial and the Thane now on the front line. Lubu will have some tanky stats as well. Whereas you look at the other side and you've got Ormar as basically your tank. The other guys will be a little bit bruisery, but they're going to be favoring that damage side of their build.
Absolutely. And knowing that you now have both Zenial and Thane to create a wall to protect Hanzo, he can play a little bit more forward, knowing that he has disengaged potential with the Thane, obviously with the charge, with the AOE knock-up to counteract. There's something that Alice can't do. Alice isn't consistent with her stuns, purely because of the nature of the projectile. It's an AOE radius, has a brief travel time, whereas, yes, you have a ramp-up time with the Thane AOE knock-up, but the charge is basically immediate. So you can push them away, create that distance, assuming you position correctly with your marksman, and then follow up with the knock-up for them to be able to deal their damage and do their job.
That's something as well that we saw earlier on the SK versus Team Liquid game of Edu on that Thane, who kept charging in and mispositioning himself. So obviously, whilst you do have that utility, if you use it incorrectly, you can find yourself in a lot of hot water.
That's very true, but in that matchup, they were the aggressors and they needed to be in terms of using Thane as an initiation tool. For me, on this, looking at the team that's available on the side of GameTV, I'm thinking that this Thane is going to be defensive. Unless they get the early lead, the Thane is there for defensive purposes to protect the Joker.
So small adjustments to the draft strategy. It's going to be game number 2 of GameTV versus SMG. The same sides will remain. GameTV on the blue side, SMG on the red. And Violet and Thane, the alterations.
Just going to be taking this Might Golem over for themselves. It's an invade that hasn't been answered on the side of SMG yet.
They go in with Thane for a late invade. Thane does not have the punish. Well, Zenial could rotate in and try and go for that invade if Zuka leaves him alone long enough, but here comes XB looking to poke out Genji. He's going to charge him back straight into SMG's weighing hands. Henry's there as well. Doesn't have the dash available, and that's Chi-Chi with first blood. Lubu will be able to take that one to the bank and try and put it to good use. Well, they are challenging still in the jungle over the Might Golem. There's the knock-up, and SMG members' health bars are falling. Beerchan on the side with that Violet, not quite able to close out any kills as Hanzo weighs into the fight. Pro is going to fall back, but no more kills are going to go over. SMG back off of the Might buff side.
Genji being able to push that 3-man unit into the jungle even further away from the lane means that if they could get the advantage, they'd have a further distance to travel to the safety net of the tower. And with Hanzo coming in, if you could provide a lockup for a little bit longer, he's got that safe distance already created. And if they try and go onto Hanzo, they're turning your backs to you. You just jump in and you do the job yourself.
Serenia has to jump away over the wall. That's obviously the trade-off you have with Zenial. The early game damage is just not there. You need to make sure you're safe in these lanes.
Now, Spirit Sentinel should be picked up. It is the 2-minute mark. A little bit of contention.
Oh, didn't see quite who went over
Pro
to.
got that.
There we go. So the double man knock-up as well from Genji will be favorable for him, as it is Violet to be able to pick up one of those kills. Obviously one of those marksmen that will scale into the late game. Super strong. Joker, probably the archetypal late game marksman, as you know, he's got quite a weak early game. The damage for late game though is very, very big. There comes the Zenial ultimate that we were talking about. Just airdrops in, the heal comes through, and Abyssal Dragon actually being taken almost uncontested. Oh, Henry nearly able to steal it away, but now he's finding himself not quite. Oh, is it going to be enough? Lubu has the poke. He should be able to hit it, but there's the auto attack. He's just going to zone himself away, but over in the top lane, Liang backed up underneath the turret. Serenia is going to get stunned up and taken down. Thane with the double knock-up will turn it back on, though, as Pro, taken very low as well.
If one more minion dies, he can get the execution, but I think they've identified that and they will retreat off, because Thane could just drop the sword on top of Ormar, and it would be an instant kill, just like that.
There's the Gib on towards the Ormar, and SMG have the early advantage. The knock up onto Chi-Chi is just going to force him back in the bot lane as Zuka arrives to take that pressure.
I just want to cycle back to that Abyssal Dragon quickly. I'm not sure why GameTV were overcommitted on taking that Might buff on the top side. Yeah, you can deny it from one of the picks on SMG, but you're giving up the Abyssal Dragon for it, which is just going to bring them into the game. With 3 members on the top side of the map pressuring that top lane, you're positioning yourself for some kind of dive. But they had reinforcements to help out Zenial, and he's not an easy person to dive. He's got a little bit of mobility, he's got a knock-up, shields, etc. But you freed it up for SMG to have that Abyssal Dragon with the knowledge that you exposed yourself from that top side as well.
I mean, yeah, you just saw it there, how safe Serenia is. 3 men appear out of the brush and he's like, cool, see you at the turret. And they don't want to dive that one, certainly. He's too tanky to go for that just yet.
Because the Spirit Sentinel's not really a priority objective, it's just something that gets done. And also Zilla's more than capable of taking it if he can get away from Ryoma. Knowing that there's a lot of attention on the bottom side of the map and the potential for a dive, SMG would rather come down in the immediate future to make sure it doesn't happen, and then they can rotate back up and get the Spirit Sentinel later, which is what they're doing right now.
Exactly. All the stun over the wall from Pro. And the Swagger will just stun out that Hanzo. But The Spirit Sentinel goes over to SMG, and they are focusing their objectives down once more. This is something that we've highlighted them for before. Their objective-based play is very, very strong. They know how to do these rotations. They know how to make it work.
Well, we make the comparison to SMG. I'm going to add an analogy to it. They're like they're one of those old-timey, classic, cartoony bombs, but they have a really long rope of a really long fuse attached to it.
Ooh.
And they spend the first couple of minutes just lighting the fuse, letting it whittle down, whittle down, whittle down. All of a sudden it goes boom, and they take 4 towers, 5 towers, 2 dragons, you know, Spirit Sentinel, potentially even Dark Slayer, depending on how late of the game it is.
Liang actually diving back away into their turret, trying to use his mobility to get on in there. There's the Zenial coming in for the
turnaround.
They're trying to turn it around here. On to Chan. The heal comes through. Liang is not dead just yet, but is going to get burst down. Finally, both of them go down with a risky play from SMG. Hanzo tried to back them up as well, but there's the damage coming through for the Raz, and it is going to be successful. Pro picks it up.
Very ambitious from SMG to attempt that turnaround. I think at that point you had to concede the Zil. You had to say, Liang, you're out of position. Sorry, dude. We can't come and save you. We're just going to lose more. Yeah, you're going to concede pressure around the map because of it, because they can use the man advantage to force down whatever they want. So you have to play defensive and lose control of lane pressure, but it's a lot better than giving up multiple kills, trying to save someone who couldn't really be saved.
As well as that Ormar getting more money under his belt, because Ormar, typically one of the heroes that we see not quite able to get as much gold farmed up as everybody else.
Well, he's still one of the poorest members in the game. The only person who is not as rich as him is that Fane at the moment, and they're pretty tight. And they're fulfilling similar roles in the team. Obviously, it's a little bit more direct in Fane's approach and disengaged support, but Ormar there as a tank, he can deal that damage with his ultimate, but for the most part, he's there to be a stun bot and just to be a beefy frontliner who can just irritate the marksman, draw their attention, allow his backline to roam around a little bit more flexibility in how they can position and which targets they can prioritize.
Yeah, of course he can get over the wall with his one, has the knock up on the auto attack after that. You know, every 3 casts that hit an enemy target of his swagger, he gets the stun automatically. The random stuns just on his physical damage procs. He has a lot of CC to bring to the table, which is why he's such a staple in all of these games.
But here comes the dive onto Serenia. But look at that, Pachan's just taking the tower rather than going for Serenia. Now they can clean it up.
Oh, they are going to turn it around. Henry did the groundwork. XB followed it up with a nice 1-2, and they are going to be able to take the tower, take down Zenial, and force themselves onto position for this Abyssal Dragon.
And what perfect timing it was. As soon as they completed their dive, Abyssal Dragon comes back onto the map. SMG, they've just seen it because Genji has just seen it over the wall, but it's being done. I think they understand that they can't contest this. They're going with the ult steal and don't land it. They assumed there would be a punish coming out from Bachan, but it was on cool. Oh, no, he actually used the punish. Sorry, my mistake.
So it's maybe a little bit early. Pro going to be going over the wall with the sun, or attempting to anyway, but he is going to get jumped on. Bachan actually jumps away. Hanzo able to avoid the slow coming out from the swagger. Hanzo is still in the back line, completely untouched. He's going to be trying to dish out the damage. Remember, that was the key point from last game, when they weren't able to get onto Hanzo. Trying to do the same thing here. Hanzo now in the front line, actually jumping onto Pro, bursting him down. Here comes Henry,
trying to get on
trying to go for the stun, but the Zenial heal is just going to protect the back line even more. Henry's going to get burst down. XP finds one back onto Liang, but 2 players for GameTV have already fallen. Hanzo still near full health. PS Man trying to find something on the sidelines, and XP trying to follow it up, but the presence, so much damage, and there's the auto attack to close it down. The double stun is going to allow Ryoma to escape, but 3 kills for SMG in a beautifully orchestrated team fight.
It was wave upon wave of initiations from Genji. He wasn't playing defensively for Hanzo, he was playing aggressively for Hanzo. They're at this point in this game.
Oh no, you can't step up like that, Hanzo, but Chan's just going to roll on. Didn't quite manage to get the damage there.
Saying, he was playing aggressively for Hanzo, in the sense that he was able to jump in and keep knocking up enemies, locking them up. So it does work in a defensive way because they can't approach onto him, but he constantly CCs the enemy and allows Hanzo to come in with these grenades, come in with the punchline, and get these clean kills and layer damage onto the enemy team in just waves that cycled around their cooldowns.
You leave him alone, he's going to be playing plenty of practical jokes on you.
And it's a great decision, because whenever they were attacking, they were leaving the bush, which means they weren't providing vision inside the bush, so they could just fall back and forth, and they wouldn't know whether they were still there in their entirety or whether they had peeled around to another direction. So it allowed that illusion of disbelief.
The turret falls almost immediately. Henry has to back off. As long as the Abyssal Dragon is spawning as well, SMG have the advantage here. Pro will get spotted out with the Zil ability. Well, give them that sound cue to let them know they are there in the brush, or there is someone anyway. The mid lane turret for SMG is relatively low, so if GameTV can get a smart rotation off, then potentially that could go down. The Abyssal Dragon, however, is going to go over to SMG.
Their third of the game, so they haven't got just double of the Abyssal Dragons GameTV have. They've got triple at the moment.
Seems to be a running theme when it comes to objective-based play. Genji trying to jump on, they're not going to find anyone, and Pro is going to try and run in on the back. Hanzo still in that brush waiting, and is going to be able to jump onto bench.
Oh no, that's
a massive chunk of damage. Genji not quite able to find it with the final blow, but they are going to try and turn it onto XB instead. Hanzo is down to half HP. The dash not quite landing himself in that punchline, but Bichan almost going down with almost 100 to 0. Give it a couple of minutes, and it's going to be just that. Turret actually going to target, and there's XB going down with Hanzo, and the ultimate Zenial drops in. They're going to be able to take the turret without much contention as well. And SMG are going to run on through towards the enemy base. GameTV trying to put up a front. There's the ultimate from Genji as well. Bro, so low. Seems like he's not having much luck, as apart from that kill earlier in the game, his ultimate execution not quite coming through.
Okay, so one thing to note about Hanzo, when he started that fight, it was very dangerous, and I think he didn't positioned the ultimate correctly, because I think he was expecting to jump over the wall, land a grenade, go back onto the other side of the wall with the safety of his team. Instead, he got cut off just short in that bush, and he did enough damage to Bichan to trigger his team to go, right, we can win this fight.
Oh, Hanzo could get caught out here, but he is able to jump away. They walk into the brush, and he leaps on backwards, and they're going to try and re-engage off the back of this. They have the Thane front line. They have Serenia as well, and there's Liang capitalizing. Pro is going to fall down. Oh, Genji, what are you doing? Going in versus 4, there's the knockup. They have to try and find something, but Hanzo is far too far forwards, takes the poke from XP and Bichan. Liang is going to have to dash away, and SMG scuff the end of that fight. GameTV trying to chase on towards it, but I think they're just going to be able to get away.
Well, Liang's taking tower shot at this point, so he actually gets the kill over to Bichan, because PS Man can't get the attack on there. But Joker, good position, good use of his secondary ability as well to break that CC and get that movement speed buff to make sure he gets out alive.
Chi-Chi can get jumped on here under the turret. Zenial will drop down. The airdrop heal will come through, and Hanzo actually get a lot of poke damage down onto XP. That's something that Joker shines at in the late game, is just harassing these squishies and trying to prevent them from full diving him. But the Dark Slayer getting started up by GameTV.
And SMG have overcommitted this top lane D-push. They had no idea what was going on, so they're going to need to play a little bit more defensively. I think this is where we see Genji switch to that more defensive role for the time being. Just allow this Dark Slayer buff to go off. We can't allow themselves to be initiated on. Genji may have to sacrifice himself to get that charge if it's going to look too bad with the initiation, but you want to avoid that at all costs. And oh, they nearly sidestepped it and got away with it, but unfortunately will connect. Provide a little bit of information. There is at least someone in that bush.
Just taking out the Abyssal Dragon. They still have a gold deficit though. Kills are very even across the board, so in general, this match still very close. That Dark Slayer will tip it in the favor of GameTV right about now. Pressure on the bot side of the map. They're going to be able to take the turret.
With this Dark Slayer buff and with the newly found range in their composition, they should be able to siege these turrets a little bit more effectively without committing to the dive.
On the top lane.
Yeah, Zenial's going to be over there. He will get that top outer. There were siege minions able to break that down, and at this stage in the game, they'll be able to get it.
Oh, Liang going to get jumped on. Henry be able to pick up the kill, but they're going to try and turn it around. Hanzo's still up and running. 2 players gone down already for SMG. XB trying to dive on towards the Hanzo, but again, he's just going to be able to take them down, but they return the kill. Zenial is the only man left standing for GameTV, and they have a chance to end it right here. The turret will go down. They have the siege minion, they have the wave, but it's not going to matter because PS Man just going to jump on. The core is exposed. GameTV are going to be able to take a game back. The series goes even, and it's 1-1. GameTV versus SMG.
Tying the series out. They used the Dark Slayer buff. Really, SMG should have been aware that that was an option, taking the Dark Slayer and then using that to pressure around the map. You know they've got Dark Slayer, so effectively you need to treat it like it's a constant 6v5 for the time being, and then some, depending on which heroes they've got in their composition. You know Zenial's in the top side of the map. Yes, he has that reposition, but he has the channel time, and somehow you